Y'all, welcome to Sunday's conversation. On Sundays, we tend to talk about spiritual intelligence, which is the intelligence most often we don't touch on. And so I'm excited to talk about this question with you. How do you recharge? Because it touches on not just the spiritual, but it touches on the emotional, the intellectual. Because really, when we're thinking about what do we need to restore ourselves and to really recharge, man, there's a lot of different practices in each category of intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and physical intelligence too. And so I actually want to break it down per category tonight because, I was thinking about this morning during my practice of vertical alignment. And for those of you who aren't familiar with that phrase, that's a concept of effectively bringing every part of me, every single intelligence, the intellectual, emotional, spiritual, physical, into alignment under the hierarchy of who do I want to be? Who is my own ideal? How do I want to show up in the world? What mark do I want to make in the world? What do I feel called to? And then all of that comes under the submission of a superordinate principle. And for me, that's God. And so effectively, it's bringing every single outward expression, every behavior, every single action, and every single internal, every single internal part of me. And what's interesting, I was thinking about this morning during my vertical alignment, because the principle of it is bringing everything into submission and into alignment. But the practice of it is that I'll take time every single day to align myself and to take time to really kind of check in. I think of our intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, and physical intelligence, both as almost like members of a boardroom where each board member comes, sits down, and presents data, presents what it has to say. And there's going to be mornings where my physical intelligence has something where it's like pretty profound and or needs to be tended to. And then the other is kind of quiet, but there's always data. There's always data. And so often there's data from the past that we need to address because that past data is coloring the way that we are seeing the world in the present. And we are projecting the past data onto the future. That's why when we think about the future, there's a lot of fear, is because we're projecting onto the future stuff that we haven't processed in the past. And so then there's this whole big question for you and I as we're kind of engaging with the future, where it's, am I actually looking at the future with an ability to really dream of what it could be, with an ability to see a possibility and a potential that's not predicated in past pain. And so when we can start really, truly dreaming, that's so often a sign for us that we've healed in so many ways. When you think about little kids who are dreaming big dreams, they're not limiting themselves because they don't know any other past data. They're able to kind of dream and look forward to the future with hope and with excitement rather than with dread or projecting something onto the future because of the past. And so the more we do this work every single morning to align ourselves and make sure that the past isn't coloring our present, much less so the projection of the future, the more free we are to walk in what is possible here in this moment today, and to really enjoy moving. So every on Facebook Market. For those of you who are not familiar, amazing place to be getting your goods. And honestly, I've met so many cool people as well. And just like getting to know the area. So all that to say, as I've been driving around and as I've been moving, there's been a lot that has allowed for me to kind of see, oh, look at how the past is showing up here in this moment. And as we move into a new season of life for any single one of us, and actually for those of you who joined, Chris Dyer and I were chatting earlier this week, and Chris has a new book coming out where effectively he has identified 7 key moments in our lives that each one holds a really important significance and warrants you and I effectively slowing down and honoring that moment, because it could have really big ramifications in ourselves internally and also in our connections with other people. So effectively consider it like there's capital M moments in our lives that really warrant us to pay attention. And then there's little m moments that aren't that big of a deal. But anytime there's a big M moment, it warrants us to slow down. And so one of those is transitions. Any time where we're moving places or moving houses or moving jobs, any big transition in our life, so often the past comes up, and so often the past is projecting onto the present, and it can either steal our joy or it can distract us, or there's a whole myriad of things it can do. And so if I really want to be free to enjoy the present moment, this question of how do you recharge, that actually is so important for us to really allow for the past to be separate from the present moment. But if you and I are running on empty, we're not going to have much, I guess you could say, like resources to draw from the reservoir. So why we recharge is for so often the purpose of being able to have so much capacity here in this moment to allow for whatever big capital M moment is happening in our lives, but also those little M moments that we can really enjoy them. Today I was just in a store and it was just so fun, like food shopping, just myself. And it was just like a very ordinary moment in kind of sandwiched in between this big capital M transition in my life. And yet if I'm not able to be fully present and I'm projecting the past onto the present, much less so the future, I'm not going to be able to enjoy this moment here and now. And so what's gotten us to this conversation today was my vertical alignment this morning as I was really considering how do I ensure that my emotional state, my intellectual state, my mind, that I am tending to each part of me so that when I'm going through these big moments in my life and in your life, we have what we need to do it well, to do it without the pain of the past projecting onto it. So I would love, love, love to hear from you guys. I'm actually just going to jump right into the chat here. It's good to see you guys. Keegan, hello. Google Evil, Irtaza. I would love to hear from you guys. When it comes to y'all recharging, when it comes to you guys really able to sit with yourself and or do whatever practice you take or move through, because the way that I kind of right, like my physical body, sometimes working out can actually be the recharge that I need to kind of do reset physically, whereas mentally sometimes sleep really helps for that too. So I'd love to, when you guys are talking about recharging, what podcast to really leaning and it could be lecture conversations today. I had a really conversation with someone about it was like I'm refilling my tank, so to say. I would love to hear from you guys. What are the practices that are bringing you mental stimulation, mental recharge, and then we're going to kind of move through the other categories. So I love you guys in that regard. I'm going to jump. Is able to it's so like so evolution. Kyle, my brother-in-law. Hi from Cake. What else, guys? What else is recharging for you or physically. And Brian C., I love that. Brian C., alone time helps me recharge. And I'd love to know, when you are alone, like what do you do during that time? Do you read? Because frankly, I really, really love learning from you guys in terms of what is being done kind of on the other side, but then also what practices can I implement for myself? Also, Robert says your stream is breaking up. Stop one stream. Robert, I actually am moving over to just the Christene Marie stream. I don't know. Am I breaking up for other people too? Because we're going to be, in the next couple of weeks, we're actually just going to be completely shutting off the Knowing podcast for the lives. But I just want to make sure. So for intellectual intelligence, the reach and listening to podcasts, I actually need single input going hourglass, where the sand comes in, it's a lot at the top, and then it gets really, really narrow, and then it comes out at the bottom. Every single input, it's like this big container being held at the top, and every input comes in. And then there's this kind of very narrow space where you and I process every single input. It's like a computer processing system. You've got the input, the information processing system, and then the output. And so if you and I are constantly having inputs mentally, where we are not allowing ourselves the time kind of in the middle of that hourglass to really process, it really can be jammed outputs, and we can be inconsistent, and there's almost like brain fog. I don't know if you guys have experienced that, but I've actually been feeling that way for the last couple of months. Like there's just been a lot that's been happening in my life, and those big transition moments when those capital M moments are elongated for periods of time, and we don't get to a season where it's like just normal, man, it can have there's like fatigue mentally, and not just fatigue emotionally or fatigue physically, but mental fatigue is very, very real. And so I'm kind of coming out of that, what has felt like a brain fog. And so I've needed to really intentionally shut off my inputs to give me space and time to allow for the processing, because otherwise, man, it's like all the inputs, all that stimulation is so much. And we're not meant to, somebody said this and I just loved it, we weren't meant to live in a digital world. We weren't created to exist like this all the time, looking at our phones. Because reading and meditating, I love that. I drink Dr. Pepper though. I love that. Sometimes isn't that having kind of those little things that really do about like that little treat or something that can really recharge us. I love that. Oh no, everyone's saying bad connection. Bummer. Let me close a tab. Let me close a couple tabs. Okay, I am attempting to close tabs to see if this will help. All right. Hopefully that did something. Okay. So going back to how we recharge. So mentally, the way that I recharge, sleep. Brian says reading is a recharge. Going to the gym physically for the physical recharge. And Brian, you said meditating. I love that. So each one of those for the mental and the physical recharge. Honestly, really kind of pushing ourselves to do the thing that we know will recharge us, even if we're not feeling like it, is so incredibly important, especially when it comes to when we're in those big moments of our lives where there is a big transition or there is a big loss. Yesterday on the show, someone shared how they are really going through something truly tragic. And even Sammy on the Knowing show, he comes on in the mornings and he had an accident and he has been a quadriplegic for a couple of years. And so, guys, when we're going through the ringer of life, where it's like we're thrown into the arena and it's effectively game time, we don't have time to work out anymore. Like it's game time. We're in tragedy. We're in these moments that really are devastating. And then it's, okay, well, what equity have I built with myself that I can pull from in terms of, do I have a trust relationship with myself? Have I been tending to my emotion, to my spirit, to my physical body, to my mind, to have the tools that I need to process this pain, especially when it's severe, especially when it's a loss like what Bert was saying yesterday. It was just colossal, so devastating what he's experienced. And so here on the Knowing Show, when we're talking about, if we really want to get to that next level, if we really want to be prepared, I always think of Theodore Roosevelt's speech, Citizens in the Republic, where he talks about the man in the arena. And it's so much easier to be the critic on the sideline. Even some of the chats here, it's so much easier to point and smear and laugh and be the critic. But it's not the critic who counts. It is you and me being in the arena every single day, doing the work and effectively preparing for when the going gets tough, when our families need us, when the rug is pulled out from underneath us and it's like we're floating because everything in our life, we're going through a big transition or we're going through a big heartbreak. We talked about heartbreak yesterday, and there's some real shit people are going through. And so if we're not doing the work to recharge, to have these practices in place, to do the work, yes, to cultivate ourselves, but also to literally relax and rest. Because here's what's interesting. If we never allow our body to come to a place of stasis, kind of like a neutral baseline, we can't actually ever reprogram something new. If our body is in fight, flight, freeze, or fawn state, it's not going to be able to retain any new programs, any new data that we want to introduce it to it. So if we're constantly trying to reprogram, reintroduce new ways of being to level up, but we're not actually allowing our bodies, our minds, our souls, our spirits to get to a baseline of peace, it's just almost like beating ourselves over the head with new programs, but they're not sticking. And so it's like when we go to the gym and we do kind of that slow workout, but we don't kill ourselves the first time. And then we allow ourselves to rest and recharge, and then we go to the gym again. That's what it needs to be like in so many ways when it comes to introducing new programs, so that when we have these big moments in our lives, capital M moments, where there's a death, a big transition, a loss, honestly, even just a big decision that we have to make, we've got both the tools and the practice. We've put in the reps by going into the arena every single day, by way of, honestly, even what we're doing here by talking about this, and then also recharging, putting into practice what Brian was saying and what was said earlier about going to the gym. Doing the work looks so different. It's not just sitting down and having, these awful conversations that really conjure up pain and only ever looking at the pain and doing that kind of work. Yes, that's important, but it's also about ensuring that we're getting to a place of peace on a consistent basis, so that the new programs we want to put in place really do stick. Okay, jumping back into the chat. I'm so glad that it seems to be working better in terms of internet. So I'm so glad. Vern's Vern's not here. This is what he says. This is so funny. This is like one of the best digs. This is so funny. I don't know what to call it, but it's just such a funny thing to say. Vern's not here says, when my internet wasn't working, he says, her man has her own dial-up, probably manages a Wendy's. That just totally made me laugh. Oh my gosh. That's so funny. What's so funny is I actually haven't turned on Wi-Fi at my new place. So I'm on my hotspot. So I'm sorry I was struggling with my internet. That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Joseph, thanks for being on. A surprise. Hard to please, guys. All right. All right, just looking down. Okay, connection is good now. Brian J, hello. Stella, I'm so glad to see you. Nick Rao says meditation. Honestly, I've a friend of mine, he can close his eyes and meditate for like 30 minutes. I'm not the best at meditating. Honestly, I'd be curious if you guys have like people that you like or YouTube that you really love. I'd love to be able to listen to that. Oh, Bungalow Truth. You're the one that said the gym. I love that. Turtle Biscuit Man, hello. I'm rocking mental recharge. I love that. Okay, so I'm just looking here at the chat. I actually really do read what most of you say. Oliver, good to see you. Mustache Fabio. He said, I thought she was AI or a recording until she talked to me. Oh, E-Man Castle Wall, good to see you. Honey Badger Dad, the resistance is real. I'm so grateful that you brought up the resistance, because when we're talking about this topic of the need to recharge, it really, this concept of building equity with ourselves is really, really important. And frankly, it probably warrants a whole conversation, because the relationship that we have with ourselves when the bottom falls out from under us and we're left with nothing. What do we have to fall back on? Who are we? What equity did we build with ourselves so that we can trust our word, take our word for it, that we know that we actually have a safe place to land, even just going like literally, I can take care of me and it's going to be okay. There's so many people who will go back to abusers, who will maintain really toxic, unhealthy relationships, who will constantly be a doormat. And it's because for so many of us, it's because we don't have the relational equity built with ourselves that then allow for us to call to a higher standard for how people treat us and how we're treated as a result. Because the quality of our relationship with ourselves so often is mirrored by the quality of what we receive in relationship with others. So Honey Badger, I'm glad you brought that up. Mohammed says, no, we pick up ourselves and connect to God, because God is the only one that cares and guides us. I'm so grateful you brought that up, because there is okay, so let's talk about this. We talked about mental recharging, physical recharging. What about spiritual recharging? And Brian, you kind of tapped on that a little bit with meditation, because y'all, there really are different parts of us. It's like effectively different pathways. There's, the intellectual, and that really does constitute so much of our mind and our being, is that left hemisphere of the brain. In order for us to engage with others in an intellectual manner, so that, so much of it, our jobs depend on that. But with AI coming in, y'all, artificial intelligence is really replacing intellectual intelligence. It's rather terrifying. The more I'm hearing, Peter Diamandis, a friend of mine recommended his podcast, and it's wild what is happening with AI. So our IQ is being commoditized day by day by AI. And then you think about our emotional intelligence, that in some ways, or in a lot of ways, AI is coming in and actually being the emotional companion that so many people have been craving. And now they no longer are looking for human to human connection. And so then you go to, okay, physical. Well, they're just now starting to build physical robots, and they're probably going to be very adept. And I would imagine that there's going to be a lot that happens on the physical side of what robots and AI turn into, in terms of what a lot of people are looking for across the board, whether it's somebody coming in and cleaning your physical home, whether it's intimacy. I bet you that there's going to be a lot happening here. And this is not a moral conversation. This is simply the reality of what is. Okay, so our IQ, our EQ, our physical intelligence. What about our spiritual intelligence? What about that spiritual pathway, connection to God? Because in that vein, that needs to be cultivated too. And so this question of how do you recharge? I'd love to hear from you guys in terms of the literally the spiritual recharge that you invest in for yourself to really truly engage in a way that allows for you to cultivate spiritual wisdom. It's like when people have access to something, they're like, I don't know how I know this, but I know it. Or they call somebody and they're like, are you okay? And the friend is like, I just got really bad news. How did you know? There's this spiritual connection between us and God and us and each other, where when that's cultivated, we have this ability for deeper connection than just going by way of the mind, the heart, and the physical body. It really is the spiritual connection. So I would love to hear from you guys. How do you recharge spiritually? Because I think that what you brought up here, Mohammed, is a really, really good point. And frankly, it kind of naturally lends us to this conversation of spirit. How do we recharge spiritually? Okay. I'm just looking here in the chat again, and I'd love to hear y'all's feedback there. Some of these comments are just so funny. Oh my. Oh, Brian, you just encouraged me so much. I just saw one of your earlier comments. Thank you. Thank you for kind people. I just feel very grateful. Oh my goodness. We all need encouragement. Oh my goodness. OPT Holistic Services, genuine intimate connection is missing. Y'all, isn't it so true? Wow. iRobot. I've been thinking about that movie. I need to watch that again. Oliver says AI is rather terrifying. Kind of glad I'm a meager truck driver with road ranger experience. 100%. You actually are probably going to be one of the most sought after folks given that experience, because I completely agree with you. I spiritually recharge. Oh, the man in the hat. Wow. I spiritually recharge by watching your streams. Thank you. Adrian. Adrian. I think that's how you say it. Is this a religious channel? No. We talk about every part of us, and spirituality is a part of us. So we talk about that, but it's not a religious channel. Isaac, hello. Thanks for joining. All right. I am just looking here in the chat. Okay, Oliver, I want to see how you recharge. I have a Dr. Charles F. Stanley Life Principles Bible. Oh, I love that. I've never heard of a Life Principles Bible. That's super cool. I would love, love, love to look into that. I'm going to take a screenshot of that. Physical human touch is important in a relationship. That's connection. Isaac, oh, dude. Okay, so there was a study done. I think Stanford did this study between mothers of infants, and there were two control groups. One of the groups, they would look at their baby while they were feeding the bottle or nursing, and they would be cooing at the baby, and then they would randomly stop, and they would just go silent and like kind of stone cold. And it wasn't like they were angry at the child. They just would be motionless, like there's no motion. And the baby would stop eating and anxiously be kind of like looking at their mother's eyes and kind of cry a little bit. And then once the mother started engaging again, cooing and smiling, laughing, the baby would resume eating. Y'all, our survival skills, or not even skills, our survival is predicated on connection. It's not enough for babies to just have food. The baby stopped eating to get that emotional connection back. Emotional intelligence is so incredibly vital to every part of our well-being, just like physical intelligence is so vital. You know, when I go into some of these rooms in masterminds, some of the most high earning folks that I've ever been around, they're talking about taking care of their body, not talking about AI. They're not talking about, oh, this is how you leverage your equity in your business to get more assets. They're not talking about that. They're talking about, how do I stay healthy? How do I beat cancer? They're having these conversations because they know that the most important thing for you and me is maintaining our body. If we have no body, we've got no soul, no spirit, no intelligence. You know what I mean? Like, we've got our physical body. And I'm not talking about the afterlife or anything like that. I'm talking about right here, right now. Our physical health is so important to cultivate. And with the cultivation of our human being and our human body comes the need for human touch. It's not just merely survival. It's like our bodies are a vessel, truly a vessel of the emotional desire that almost like reaches out from our heart into our physical body. And so the strength and dexterity of our physical body actually is the vehicle for emotional connection in so many ways. Our eyes, the words that come out of our mouths, yes, are so important, but like the intonation, the tone, the way that it's delivered. If we were just typing, and we would be another ChatGPT right back to each other if it was only ever written communication. So much of that human touch, the human intimacy, is so critically important. And so we have to be tending to our physical bodies so that we've got something to offer our children. What's the type of physical intimacy and connection we give our kids? Are we playing with them? I played with my niece in a way that I hadn't played in years. We literally went sledding, and we were outside, and I was like dragging my sled up the hill. And when she and I play together, we always take on characters. And I forget what character I was, but it was just, we were dying. It was so funny. We were laughing and literally sledding down their back hill. And it was so much fun. And I just had this thought, when is the last time my cheeks were rosy from being outside? But if I wasn't taking care of my body and being able to keep up with her, I wouldn't have been able to do that. And same goes for every part of our physical body, whether we can walk, whether we have access to every part of our physical body regardless of whatever capacity. Are we tending to it to the best we can? Are we taking radical responsibility? And that's a question no one else can answer except for you. Only you know that. Just jumping back here in the chat. Thomas, good to see you. Thank you. Quailson, what color is your house? It's like very beige. It's very neutral. It's not like, it's actually very different than my other condo, and the way that I'm just renting right now, but my condo that I own is like, it's gray and white, and it's got pink because obviously pink's pretty. And this is like browns and beige. And I have like a fun, funky chair. You see, it has a little deer. So I don't know. This is like a different aesthetic. OPT, Holistic Services, so good. Just looking at your chat. Frog Physics, hello. Oh, Oliver Moore says 16 Personalities is a very interesting website. I paid extra to upgrade, and I find it most helpful. Ooh. Oh, I love that. I'm going to write that down. Actually, I'm going to take a screenshot of that since I screenshot the other one. Jasmine says, can I ask your name? Yes, my name is Christene Marie. It's good to meet you. And Marie is legally my last name. I'm not pretending. It's on my passport. Giovannia, good to see you. Two Glock 30s. We are real. Oh, Sella. Ooh. I'm just looking at some of your comments, my friend. It's so interesting. I think that every single one of us has something to learn from each other. I think every single one of us has something to teach each other. Y'all, isn't that so cool? You know something that the world needs. I know something that the world needs. The child down the street knows something that the world needs. We all have This is where yay, I'm glad you brought this up. Well, this is what Sela said. Let me be clear, no woman can teach a man anything. So I'm responding to that comment. I really have found, I've experienced this. So I'm curious to hear other people's experience. I have experienced that every single person, regardless of age, regardless of gender, regardless of demographic, culture, has something to teach, something to give, because to the extent that they have cultivated their intellectual intelligence, emotional intelligence, spiritual intelligence, physical intelligence, when somebody is online and awake, when they're able to engage with the world around them and they're living fully and experiencing life, whether they stand on the side of the road at the stoplight asking for money, or whether they are 6 years old waking up from an afternoon nap and they're like, I had a dream. Every single one of us has something to give. Every single one of us has something to teach each other. And then the question is, are we actually going to share and be brave in doing that? And here's the thing, it actually does require bravery. There is a whole host of horrifying comments that I've received from just doing the show. And there's a whole host of lessons I've learned from every single one of you in so many ways. I learn from the bad comments just as much as I do from the good. Every single one of you right now is teaching. It's teaching us how to engage with you. It's teaching yourself that this is the standard by which you abide. It's teaching the stranger, because of the way you show up. You and I both are putting out an energy in terms of, David Hawkins says it best. I talk about him probably on most every show. He talks about how every single emotion has a numerical value. Shame is really, really low, level 20. Pride is I think that's 175. Anger is 150. Courage is 200. Joy is 500 or 400. Peace is 600. So you get higher up with each emotion that kind of, it is rising. You know, when somebody gets passionate, you see their eyes light up and you hear it in their voice. There's dynamicism versus someone who's in shame. They usually get smaller and get more quiet and maybe don't make eye contact. And so with this conversation, it's what energy are you bringing into the world based on what you believe, based on what you've experienced, based on what you know, based on what you love and what lights you up. And are you actually living a vivacious life in order to be able to really, really give and teach? People need you. People need you. I think Brian you asked this one time, like, what's the one thing, you know, if I had to pick kind of one truth or something, and I still stand by what I said, but I think that this point about people needing you is really, really important, because it's so easy to forget. It's so easy to kind of go nihilistic. It's so easy to go inward rather than realize and remember, man, people really need me. You know, that's a really beautiful thing. Whether it's the barista that you're ordering coffee from, could you make her day a little better? To the parking lot attendant, how can you serve? How can we give? How can we love others well? And that is a high call. But every single one of us has the potential to do it if we so choose. 𝐼𝐴𝐴𝐿 Castle, we all hurt. Oh. Amencia, thank you. Aziz, hello. Dave, too much knowledge is bad. Dave, I'm curious why you think that. I'm very curious. I think that's a very, very interesting point. And I'm very curious to hear what you think. Okay, just scrolling down. You are the energy you contain. What a word, Brian. That's so good. Private libraries. I feel defeated. I have fallen into an emotional shit abyss and can't get out. You know what I wonder? Do you want to get out? You know, for me, when my brother-in-law was killed, I didn't want to heal. And I think that question, do we want to heal, is really important. Do we want to get out? Do we want to experience joy? Do we want to elevate in that kind of emotional level? Do we want to level up? Or do we want to stay where we are? Because honestly, where we are right now is certain. It's easy. And so many of us will choose the certainty of misery rather than the uncertainty of any other type of emotion. And I think that's really important for us to acknowledge. Y'all, I am just putting a few of y'all on, I think like timeout, because some of the things coming in the chat is very inappropriate. Richard says, no, knowledge is power. Irish Cream Spring says, what do you believe? You have to give me more context there in terms of what do you mean. Oh, wow. Don't Cap says, sometimes we don't want to heal because the pain is the last link to what we have lost. So true. It's so true. I'm with you. Maybe I'm tired of trying. No, it's not easy. Private libraries, I think that this is such an honest, I really appreciate you saying this. Private libraries said earlier, just let me go back up to your comment because for context, it says, I feel defeated. I have fallen into an emotional shit abyss and can't get out. And says, I'm tired of trying. Maybe I'm tired of trying. It's not easy. I actually, you know what's funny? We haven't talked yet about how to recharge emotionally. And I think that this is such a good time because it is such an important and frankly very relevant conversation of how do we recharge emotionally? What do we do when we're at that point of just fatigue on an emotional front and like we've given everything we can and it's not enough and the pain's still there? There's a couple of different directions here, and I think that they're all useful. And frankly, I'd love for those of you who have experienced this before, where you guys have felt this kind of like, it's almost like it's a soul level fatigue. And so I'd love to hear from you guys. How do you come back from that? And how do you recover on an emotional front? So I'd love to hear from you guys in that regard. But for me, one of the most important practices on an emotional level has been, honestly, there's something on the getting up physically and going outside and getting sunlight. There is real vitamins in the sunshine and it's way underrated. But going out and getting that, like going for a walk and making a physical habit of that, even after you eat, going outside, like really truly getting sunlight is probably one of the best doctors for us on an emotional level. And it really is underrated. We don't do it enough. You know, we live inside and we live looking at this. So the less we do engaging with our phones and the stimulus there and eliminate the inputs, like I was saying earlier, like really truly stop the noise and start processing and letting things out. Because the more we allow for things to actually rise up that's within us, then we can get rid of it. It's like pouring out. There's this biblical text that talks about pouring out your soul before the Lord. And in that concept, I love the concept of it because effectively that process, whether it's through journaling or prayer or some form of release, y'all, here's the thing. Our bodies have systems that rinse and cycle out the toxins in our body. There's no process for the soul that does that. You know, sleep does that for the mind, but emotionally, we don't have any kind of like cleansing that allows for everything that's stuck inside, that's trapped inside our soul to come out emotionally. And so it's really, really important that we actually do a process and have a process of kind of that cleansing of effectively purging the soul, everything that's inside that's been bottled up and suppressed, to allow for it to be poured out and to be handed over, to like be let go of. And in the letting go, we end up receiving back. It's like we've got fresh emotional energy after we've done kind of the purging of the emotional toxins that are in there. I love this. As he says, for me, I restart every day, like new day. I forget about yesterday. I mean, if I woke up this morning, it's like a new day. It's a new start. I love that. Azim, thank you so much for saying that. That is so, 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 so good. Here's the thing. We get no other February 22nd, 2026 ever again. And we're not guaranteed tomorrow. And all we have right now is today. And in that, we get to choose. We have the power of choice. So yes, I know that there's like mental rewiring sometimes that we need to go through to kind of fix and address. Like if we really do have a struggle towards depression or something, we need to do some rewiring. But at the same time, we have a lot of power to choose a new program. And in that power of choice is really where we get to decide, who do I want to be? And what energetic level do I want to show up? Do I want to stay at this level? And to the point of trying private libraries, I'm just so grateful that you brought that up, because I've felt that before, just that level of like, I'm just so tired of trying. And I think that in those moments, it's actually so important that we reach out to community, whether it's getting on a plane and visiting a friend, or going out and asking a friend to visit us, or even calling up a friend. My brother-in-law used to call through a friend list every day on his way home from work. And so I would just really encourage you, get sunlight, go outside, eliminate inputs, put our phones down, and engage in community. And remember that we only have this one day, this one life. This one day, though, is really, really a really beautiful way, Azim. I'm so glad you said that, because we're not promised tomorrow, and there will never be this day ever again like how it is right now. I'm just scrolling down to the chat. Mike, I'm just going to go ahead and put you guys on time out, but I'd love for you guys to come back, but it's just not, we don't really talk that way here. So I'm going to go ahead and put you guys on time out, but please come back soon. Detoxing is so good for your body. Oh, I love that you brought that up. The detoxing, both on an emotional level, like literally detoxing emotionally, and even physically, to go on a fast. I did the carnivore diet for a couple of weeks last year, 2 years ago, and that was so, talk about a real, it feels like a cleanse. Like you are kind of purging yourself from addictions to sugar. I think I didn't do wine. And so it's just like really kind of cleansing everything in so many ways, both physically and on the emotional level. I did kind of a detox from social media and from just inputs in general. So I didn't even read books, no podcasts, no music, no phone. And it really was just like sitting alone with nature and with God and with me. And it was so uncomfortable. And it was so good, because it's like once we can kind of get through, it's kind of like an onion. When you peel back the layers of all of the kind of processing everything that the world has told us, once we process all of that, then we actually get more to the nucleus. What is God saying? What do I think? Then that's when creation starts. And we really, truly start to create something truly of origin, because we're at an original source. And we're not just mirroring and replicating what other people have to say. All right, y'all. I am going to jump off and go make dinner. The other night when my sound went off, I ended up just like making dinner, and I was like chatting with you guys. And I don't know if you guys would ever be like down for like, you guys can cook dinner and I'll cook dinner too, or I don't know. Would that be fun for you if we did? Because I always end up doing the show right around dinner time. So I just would be curious if that would actually be fun. We started doing game nights. So I think I have a guest this Wednesday night. So we've got to pick another night for game night. Yeah. Oh no. Well, I do have a guest, but they're in the midday. So let's do game night this Wednesday, the 25th. Guys, we're going to do game night. Woohoo. Let me know what you guys want the topic to be. We've done 80s music. That was so fun. And then we did 80s movies. We could do 80s pop culture, or we could jump decades to something else. So let me know about that if you guys would. Irish Cream Spring says, yes, fasting is so good, even if it's just one meal. What a good point, because honestly, sometimes I think of fasting as this whole big thing that I have to do rather than just part of my habits. The man in the hat. I know my emotions. I'm always aware and mindful of what I'm feeling. I just don't share them with anyone. I'm curious if that's really helpful for you. If keeping it inside is good, but I love that I think that that's so important. I just wonder if there's any, if you'd be curious about like sharing it with others, or if that's ever been meaningful to you. Jonathan, I'm a chef. Oh, cool. Chris Dix, my chicken laid 24 eggs today. Holy cow. I want chickens. I want to have chickens. I just need to move somewhere far out in the country. What are you cooking for dinner? I honestly went to Whole Foods and just like snagged some very, very simple things. I got ground turkey, and then I'm just going to do some Italian. So I got like garlic. I have no food in my house other than 𝐤𝐚𝐢 powder, throat lozenges, tea, and noodles and pasta and ground turkey. And I got eggs. So that's my dinner tonight. And then, yeah. So, okay. So it'll be fun to cook together. Yay. Let's do it. I'm so glad. Ryan, I can come and cook dinner. Oh, thank you. Sure. Do a cooking stream and I don't know what that is. Hold on. I got to Google this. I don't even know. I freaking realized I have called out people's handles and then realized that it's like very inappropriate what I'm saying. So I'm getting nervous. I'm getting nervous sometimes when I like read handles. I'm like, oh, okay, cool. Yay. All right. Well, maybe we'll do some cooking. That'd be fun. Michael Grimes, can you send me a giant pizza? I wish I could. That's so funny. I recharge. Oh my gosh, Frank, I love this. I recharge by going for motorcycle rides on my 5,000 Harley Davidson. It saved my life. Dude, I love that. Y'all, there's so many ways to recharge. I love hearing what you guys do. I really, really do. I get such a kick out of it because there's so many ways to recharge. There's so many beautiful things in the world, and it's so easy to forget, and it's so easy to kind of like have our head down and just be fixated on what's wrong in our lives. And so I just love this conversation around, how are we recharging? Because there's so much good. There's so much good. So I love that you said your motorcycle. I got my motorcycle license years ago, and I have not ridden in forever, and I want to get a bike. Okay. All right. I'm going to hop off. Guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. So, okay, final housekeeping. Trivia. Who said 90s trivia? Somebody said 90s trivia. Oh, Frank, I live on a lake in Vancouver Island. It's very peaceful. That sounds amazing. Who said 90s trivia? I saw, Man in the Hat, 90s movie trivia. All right, let's do it. Let's do 90s movie trivia on Wednesday. We'll do that 8:30 p.m. Eastern, Wednesday night. Also, head over to Christene Marie _knowing. I'm going to, in the next couple weeks, I want to do a transition, but I'm going to stop going live on the Knowing podcast stream. My team manages that. And I just kind of want to keep it clean. And I know it's confusing. So I'm like, let's not confuse people. Excuse me. Y'all, I've been sick for over a week now. And I'm feeling so much better, but oof. Matthew Jordan, hello. Good to see you. All right. I will see you. So housekeeping, we're going to do cooking together. I don't know when, but we will. It'll be so fun. 8:30 p.m. 90s movie trivia on Wednesday. Mark your calendar. Then also move over to Christene Marie _knowing. And then third, we're going to start a knowing community. And Brian, I owe you a message back because I loved what you told. He sent me a message with an idea. So I'm super excited. All right, y'all. Have a wonderful night. Thank you so much for joining. And don't forget to recharge. There's so many amazing ways to do it. But get outside and recharge. Put your phones down. Kill this thing. Just kidding. It's actually really a blessing. I was able to find all my furniture through Facebook Marketplace. So anyways, y'all have a wonderful night, and I will talk to you tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. for